on that, but from
We're going to hear that story.
what day?
I want to hear all our stories.
Right now on Inside Tennessee.
Pick our brain.
Back with more on the legislature and Senator Becky Duncan Massey. I wanted to ask about Tennessee State University, historically black college in the Nashville area, Oprah Winfrey among its celebrated graduates. And there's been a brouhaha over the management of TSU. One side says, listen, you have mismanaged this thing for years now. Republicans very upset about that and saying, we've got to reorganize this board before we give you more money. Democrats say you have historically misfunded this by almost $2 billion, and you've given this university no chance to make it. Senator, where do you stand on it?
Well, I haven't been in all those different hearings because they were before different committees, but there have been multiple cases that they have come before them, they've given testimony, and the data has shown that there really has not been the proper management and oversight. And we're not taking money away from them. The formula that they've been funding at actually was set up by the Democrats decades and decades ago, and that formula has been followed. And we've actually given them more money. But they're trying to go back and say, well, that formula wasn't right. But that's a matter of opinion on that. But we're not closing it down. We're going to get them some good, they'll have some interesting folks. I've already had somebody from Knoxville that's reached out to me that was interested in being appointed.
Who's going to select those people?
It's usually, I'd say it's the typical,
governors.
I'd say it's either the governor and then the speakers
may
usually.
already been done.
So a lot of white male Republicans are going to select the board for TSU?
Well, I don't know.
I can predict. And I think that'll be the rub, even if they're otherwise qualified people.
Well, I think they've already started out with a board because he was ready for it. The governor was ready for it. Let me jump in. I want to talk a little bit about the so-called voucher bill. That was kind of Governor Lee's one big thing he for sure wanted to get done.
Correct.
Looks like the Senate pretty much fell in line with what he wanted to do. Then you had the House come along and say, well, while we're at it, why don't we do this and that and the other thing to education in Tennessee, and also came up with a much higher cost, I think, for the benefit, I think they said, of teachers. So you start talking money in a time when we've got flat revenues. Now maybe the car doesn't move so fast down the road. I'm curious about your opinion about, you said you think maybe 3 more weeks left of this session. That takes us
roughly,
to mid to late April. Not a lot of time. Does this get resolved in conference committee really, or does this get resolved?
Well, that's up in the air whether it will or not. I mean, there's actually 3 different price tags. I think the House has got about a $400+ million price tag. I think the governor's got about a $150 million price tag, and I think the Senate's $75 million.
A little cheaper.
So there's a definite difference there. I know they're working on it. I know, but right now everybody's pretty far apart.
Right.
So we'll just have to stay and watch it.
Sure, be nice to use that money on your mental health program than it would be on vouchers.
Well, I have my priorities, and everybody has different priorities.
Well, this past week was the year anniversary of the Covenant shooting.
Correct.
And I read, I think, that there were 13,000 people that were supposed to come to Nashville on last Wednesday. Did that happen, and did you all hear from the mothers and all the supporters, the Voices for a Safer Tennessee? Is anything going to happen?
Well, there was supposed to be a human chain from the hospital to the Capitol. I'm not sure if that happened or not. I'm assuming it did. I never saw anybody in our office buildings or in the Capitol on Wednesday. So I'm not sure. Today I passed a bill that the Covenant moms had asked us to work on. It was clarifying the duty to warn bill. And Jason Zachary passed it in the House earlier on, and I passed it unanimous today on the Senate floor.
And explain what that does.
Is it a fire alarm?
Well, no, not fire alarm.
Okay.
This is for a mental health professional that is counseling someone, and that's been in state law. It's nothing new. But it was not clear on if they had a patient that was threatening somebody and they felt like they might do something. There was no clear path. It was vague on who they would report to and what they would do with this information. And so we sat down and worked with them, and we made this with the Psychological Association and different folks to make sure that it was clear that if it was an imminent danger, whether it was a clearly identified person or it was an identified group of people like a school or a mall or a church, that they would report it to law enforcement. If it was more vague and not immediate, they could report it to the suicide hotline or to the health department and mental health professionals.
You mentioned about 3 weeks left. We only have 30 seconds. What do you think East Tennessee viewers should pay attention to in these next 3 weeks?
Well, we've got the supplemental budget last week. The budget will come to the floor. They're aiming for the week after next, April 8th. And a lot of the bills are moving through. I passed Abriel's bill that I did an interview on. I think you all will be showing elsewhere on protecting kids that are going through custody suits. There's been evidence of child abuse or domestic violence, and making sure that the judicial system is trained and they're looking out for the safety of that child the most. So there's things like that. There's a lot of significant legislation going through these last few weeks because this is the legislation people have had to work a little longer on to make sure they've worked with all the stakeholders and they've got it to a better position.
Senator Massey, always generous with your time. We appreciate you making it for us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Happy Easter, and we'll be
too.
back with more of our talk around right after this.